And I am a wheelchair curler. For me personally, what I would like to bring to the Beijing Games would be just being a Canadian. That's what we're wearing. We've got Canada across our chest, and I want to present a really great role of who Canadians are, how they compete, and their total attitude about life in general.
You know, I think my personal goal is to be the best teammate I can be, and you know, if I can be a good teammate and help with having a good, happy, healthy, positive environment in the dressing room and on the ice, then I like our chances at the end of the week.
In this program, I look at people like Mark Idison and Ina Forrest, who are just solid, like really solid, not only athletes, but people. Like, they're just such great people. And I take my, I try to model myself after them. It's very difficult because they are amazing people, but those two are my inspiration from our program.
It never gets old. I know it's a kind of a cliche, but it doesn't. It really doesn't get old. And to represent Canada, and it's to me it's overwhelming for me. Always is, always has been, and excited at the same time. And it just I'm just so proud. So proud.
I didn't expect the reaction I had, like when I first received it, and you know, it's something that I've put a lot of hours in and worked hard for. It's just been a goal of mine. I'm just super proud to wear the maple leaf, and yeah, super excited to represent the country.
You know, we have I'm going to say the best coaching staff in the world, and any young person, there's reach to the stars, because it's there.
When I think about the scale of something like this, it's like how many people get this opportunity, and it's been a really long road, and I think it's something I'm proud of.
Every Paralympics, I want the experience to be my best. I want to do the best I can for our team. I want to provide all the support and play that gets us to the top of the podium. So that goal never changes, and whether it's your first or whether it's your last, that's always the important thing when you're going to Paralympics. Be your best and be there for your team.
Curling now enters the Sports Weekend spotlight.
The waiting is over. Hi again, sports fans. Good morning from Beijing, curling fans, and to you, Colleen.
Nice to see you, Devin. Gosh, it's been forever. We've swapped places. You look fabulous there. And
That's kind of you to say. It was a quick sleep from the opening ceremony last night to game day call here at the Ice Cube.
Well, what an opening ceremonies too. You did a fabulous job, but under the circumstances of the news over the last 24 hours, you didn't know which way to look and what was going. And kudos to the athletes and the Paralympians who made the stance to create a change. And now we have Russia going home. We have Belarus going home. This is a big step of what's just happened. You never see this, really.
That's a great point. Athlete voice is stronger than ever. And like you said, Cole, they put pressure on the International Paralympic Committee, and they are going home. I can tell you the Belarusian athletes have gone home. The Russian athletes will go home tonight. Let us know where you're watching from this evening back home in Canada. Cole, before we get underway,
yes,
You've known I've always wanted two of me to be in two places at once, and our incredible crew here on the ground is actually providing that. We have a behind-the-scenes cam. We're taking our coverage at the Paralympics to a different level. So take a look here inside the Ice Cube as we get ready. This is my vantage point, bringing you all the action from inside the Ice Cube. The scene is set. Call, I know you know the venue, but this is extraordinary to be here. They're taking care of us here. And of course, this afternoon in Beijing, in the middle of the night in Canada, China versus Canada to begin the wheelchair curling competition.
And on that fabulous shot, just because maybe some people don't know the backstory of how the Ice Cube was once the water cube and where Michael Phelps dominated back in, what year was that, the Summer Olympics? 2008. And behind you in the far end, for people who don't know when it was the water cube, was where Alexandre Despatie was doing his diving and winning a medal there for Canada. And the diving board is still there.
It is. Yep. And called the hot tub is still filled with water. And in fact, they have the humidifiers on here because, of course, we talked about it throughout the Olympics. Very dry in here. Dry conditions yet again, but the teams have been on the ice since Thursday in Beijing. They love the ice. They've had a couple of practice sessions. And so now the waiting is over. And I am so thrilled, and I know you are, to be covering this. And the wheelchair curling is underway. You have a whiteboard.
I do have a whiteboard. I don't know that I've done a good enough job. Ta-da! I can't lift it because this is in my hand. Yeah, I've done the preliminaries of the schedule for you. China first, and that's a big game for them right out of the gate, isn't it? At 1:35 Eastern on Saturday, whenever that is in Beijing.
Exactly. It is. Well, it is Saturday afternoon here in Beijing, and you said it. That's a huge opening game. Canada, you saw the team there in the opening. They are ready to go against China. This is a rematch of the semifinal 4 years ago. One of the great curling games I've ever watched, Call. I was there in Pyeongchang, a semifinal, China winning it. Hato Wang, the skip for the Chinese, an outstanding shot. Canada would go on to win bronze. The Chinese team won gold. So here we go. A wicked way to start these Paralympics, no doubt.
Yeah. By the way, what was your favorite moment of so many during the opening ceremonies? Because they were certainly emotionally charged. For me, it was watching Ukraine come out. That just hit me in the heart, because those people are thinking of everybody back home in this dire situation. To watch them pump their fists in the air, to me, just gave me goosebumps. I've seen a lot of opening ceremonies, never felt the emotion of that moment.
It was emotional inside the bird's nest. And yes, a powerful moment. The entire Ukrainian delegation, 20 athletes, 9 guides, a harrowing journey to get here, Call. But I also want to make note of the speech by International Paralympic Committee President Andrew Parsons. This has been a hard week for him. And of course, they made the stunning reversal decision. You could hear the emotion in his voice, a clear and direct call for peace, and that scream he let out at the end of his speech, yelling peace, resonating around the stadium, a message heard clear around the world. And I can tell you, here in China, the state broadcaster censoring some of that speech, and the IPC now telling me they are investigating to find out what went on, why his speech was censored here in China. So you can tell, Call, that the tension is still in the air here.
That was a courageous move for him, and a powerful move as well. And we don't often see that from people in charge of either the IOC or the Paralympic Committee. The other incredible moment for me was when the Czech Republic came out with a peace sign.
That's right.
All of these moments, the Paralympics are so powerful for all kinds of reasons, but that they are taking this chance to say to the world, we need to bring peace. This is not right, what is going on in the Ukraine. We won't stand for it. I don't remember a bigger stance on this stage for I was going to call them a company, for an organization that likes to stay quiet on all of this. So to me, it was a very powerful day and a powerful start to the Paralympics, sending this message and courageously doing it. So
absolutely. And now the spotlight, rightly so, on the athletes. Some of them were telling me it feels like a dark cloud has been lifted. And so now we can talk about these amazing athletes and the competition that's going to play out here. And I'm so thrilled to welcome to the show. She's going to be helping us throughout that curling show during the Paralympics, a 3-time Paralympic champion. All she did was win, Call, at the Paralympics. She's going to be part of the broadcast team calling the games. Sonja Gaudet in the house and on the show. Sonja, wonderful to see you. How are you feeling as we get set for another Paralympics and this wheelchair curling competition?
Well, I'm super excited. All of the Team Canada athletes are ex-teammates of mine, close friends. So I feel like I am out there with them, you know, and I'm so close, and I want to grab my stopwatch and start timing rocks and get into the conversation at the front end with everybody. So I'm so excited to see them, you know, hit the ice, and especially against China. I mean, we played China, you know, in Sochi. In a page playoff, and I remember Dennis and I were just like on pins and needles because we were like in an extra end, and so I'm just so happy for my ex-teammates and my friends.
Yeah, you know, you're happy for that, but you're on that curling show now, right? So that's even more exciting, right?
Very, very true.
What is the secret to Canada's success? Because I'm telling you, it's to be envied.
You know what? It's team dynamics. Like we've always had some really great team dynamics, and you know, not always putting maybe the 4 or 5 top skilled players together has worked in the past, but getting athletes that work well together, communicate together, and just support one another. I feel that's been the secret to our success. And then, of course, you know, having Jim Armstrong come into onto the team has really upped our strategy knowledge over the years. And he's really taken the wheelchair curling game in the strategy piece to another level. And we see that now. I mean, all the teams are really gaining in their strategy knowledge.
You really bring up such a good point, Sonja, because what we saw in mixed doubles, didn't we, Devin? It was the chemistry and the communication between the two teams. Maybe if you looked at Italy, who won the gold medal in mixed doubles, you wouldn't pick them to be the winners at the beginning of the week, but they were so strong together. It says a lot about the chemistry in the sport, that maybe you don't always have to have the best of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sonja, you know, one of the conversations, of course, is the evolution of wheelchair curling at the Games. And of course, it made its Paralympic debut. You were there in 2006, and Canada dominated early on. But we see such parity now. And I would say this is the best competition we've ever seen at the Paralympics. In a lot of ways, it mirrors what's going on at the Olympics, right? And so what role do you think Canada has played in elevating the level of competition in wheelchair curling at the Paralympics?
Well, absolutely. I mean, going back again to you know, Jim Armstrong bringing that strategy knowledge for sure, and also you know, we were one of the first teams that brought that balance post onto the field of play at a national level, which if you pay attention to several of the athletes now have got that extra piece on their chair that they're bracing their left hand with. And that has really allowed, depending on your level of ability, you know, balance, posture, getting into a strong position and throwing heavier weight, or just staying steady while you're throwing your draw weights. I think that balance post has really allowed people to play to their level and replace some of, you know, the lack of muscle control and strength that we may have, depending on our level of spinal cord injury or what other situation, you know, you're dealing with.
You know, I was at a wheelchair curling game tonight where they were playing able-bodied at the Lakeshore Curling Club out in Sackville. And the thing I noticed the most was the no sweeping. And even they were there. You can't yell hurry hard. The rocks won't listen. And they knew it was a disadvantage for them tonight playing an able-bodied team that could sweep. But tell us about that, because we're going to be watching this on TV. Just the skill level of, if you've got to draw to the button, you've got to have the weight right out of your hand in order to make that shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that takes a lot of time and practice and getting to know your body, and lots of people have different techniques on how to do that. Maybe they're not loading their arm as much, you know, when they're throwing the draw weights or the guards, and starting with the rock a little bit farther away from them to begin with, to make sure that they're not, you know, their follow through is maybe not as long and not as much contact on the rock for as long time. So everybody has their style. Lots of people play just strictly by feel, by muscle memory, you know, or upper body movement. So everybody adapts to their unique style of how to determine that draw weight. But yeah, it has to be fairly exact.
Yeah, it was fun to
Uh,
watch.
Sonja, I know you're preparing for the broadcast tonight back home, but before we let you go, I know you mentioned your teammates. You know these players for Team Canada so well. Can we bring in flag bearer Ina Forrest right now? And Sonja, maybe you can have a message as we get ready, as we welcome Ina, waking up with me here in Beijing. But Sonja, maybe a message for your former teammate as she gets ready for a 4th Paralympics.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, I was just having shivers watching you come into the to this open ceremonies. Congratulations. What a blast. I'm trying to get on Beijing time just like you guys, because I've got to be up watching you. And how are you guys doing over there?
Really good. Like, it's excellent accommodations, small village for us to get around, all flats. So yeah, it's excellent here so far. And we're really looking forward to putting it into action today.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you guys hit the ice for sure. I don't know if you guys know Devin and Colleen, but Ina and I live like 20 minutes apart from each other and trained in our local curling club together for years in Vernon, BC. So
Nice.
yeah, so I'm just so happy to support Ina behind the scenes.
Those eyes, Ina, they remind me of me. That's very good. Very intense on that.
It's the blue.
And Sonja, it was nice. And we're going to be hearing from you again. We know you've got to get ready for, are you going to go to bed now and then get ready for the game, or what's your strategy?
I am. I had a nap earlier. I went for a long wheel, did some shopping. I'm going to have a little nap now and then get up.
All
get
right.
ready.
Well, we'll
It's
talk
a
to
game
you
against
again.
China. It's a game against China. You'll be up for it.
Oh, yes. I can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you, Sonja.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
And Ina, thank you for joining us, and tell us about that moment when you walked in, at the front of the Team Canada and carrying the flag.
It is a really proud moment to carry the Canadian flag in and show the whole world just the great team that is representing Canada and who we're playing for.
Ina, these games at this time, we had a conversation the other day leading to this, and there it is, the scenes as you guys made your way into this ceremony. How was this ceremony last night? Of course, Greg was very enthusiastic. How were these opening ceremonies different from the past 3 that you've taken part of? Of course, I mean, being a flag bearer, obviously.
I guess it's not so different as you think it's going to be or expect it to be, because it is all of this being together with the whole team. And actually for us wheelchairs, we're always close to the front anyway, so I was just one step further forward. But it was a real thrill to be able to, like I say, hold the flag and show just who we are representing at home with Canada.
Does the pressure increase? It's not your first rodeo, of course, and so much is expected from the Canadian wheelchair team. Do you feel that pressure coming into these games to make sure you stay on the podium, make sure it's gold, all of that sort of? How do you keep that part in check?
I think you do feel, and it's something we carry with us, that we are the only country that has been on the podium every Paralympics. So it's a bit of a pride thing that you want to carry that forward and do it again. But honestly, I think we're really, really prepared. We spent 3 weeks in a bubble getting ready for this. And prior to that, maybe it felt a little unprepared just for the way the quad has gone. We were apart for 18 months, then went to Worlds without a whole lot of practice. And yeah, it was, for me personally anyways, felt a little bit unprepared. But I think coming in now, we are really, really well prepared and feel like a very strong team, and we're anxious to get out there and get started.
Yeah, COVID times definitely made preparation different. Go ahead, Dev.
Ina, you've had 2 times on the ice behind me here. Your evaluation of the ice conditions. I know you had the Worlds here last fall, but how do you feel the conditions are for the big stage now?
Our first day, the rocks felt like they were about 100 pounds. But the second day, the ice conditions were beautiful, and it's a really fast surface. It's got a few, little tricks to it. So that's always a good thing to learn and puts that extra skill into the game. So I think it'll be great.
Now you mentioned China off the top for you guys. I've got the whiteboard. So is that a rivalry, and what makes them so good?
A rivalry, yes, because, you know, they are a team that is a very strong team. So, you know, it's going to be a great game. But I guess we just have memories from Sochi, from Pyeongchang, really energy charged games. And so you bring that with you, that it's an important game whenever you play China. They're a top running team and you got to bring your best.
I'm going to ask a question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I know there's been some superstition around a lucky loonie. Can you confirm, Ina, that Mr. Idison has put a lucky loonie in the ice here?
I don't think Mark would miss the opportunity to place the lucky loonie. So there's a very good bet that there's a lucky loonie out there.
I like how you answered that. Tell me about the quarantining you had to do. That's part of sort of the distraction of not a normal Paralympics prep thing. I was stalking you on Instagram and I saw you had gifts to unwrap. So, you know, who were those from? What was inside those?
My team from our Vernon Curling Club, ladies team. So Sharon Morrison, who's a umpire at so many different events, and Jan Morey and Marlene Everett and Michelle Sinclair put together a little package for me. And so every day I had little gifts to open, fun things to do, coffee, tea, just a variety of just great to have something to open and think about your friends. And then they also sent me a picture of my family that they had done up for me. So it was a very emotional, moving moment to open that one, and I've brought it with me so I can have them here for.
I thought you were going to say it was emotional having good coffee. That's, but, you know, I guess the family is important too, Ina. You're right.
Yeah, kind of up there.
So right.
Ina, we're going to let you go because so wonderful of you on game day of all things to be joining us. But maybe just the last thought. You've been such a part of this movement, the Paralympic movement, pushing forward wheelchair curling. What does it mean to you now, a fourth Paralympics, to once again be representing Canada on the largest athletic stage as you see all of this emotion from all of your great moments on the ice?
I think it's the goal. And as long as you're playing, it remains the goal that you are trying to achieve. So to be able to do it 4 times has been a wonderful experience for me. And I've enjoyed every team I've been on, the teammates that I play with, the staff that comes with us. So once again, here we are with a great team and the great staff to support us. And then we always are so appreciative to the CPC for what they do. They do everything to get us ready and have us comfortable and make the games the best for us. So it's always just a thrill to be here, and I'm happy to do it for the 4th time.
Oh, 4th time. That sounds nice. That sounds very nice. Well, we can't wait to watch you guys, and all the best. Lots of luck.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the fact that CBC is here to make sure our family and friends feel like they're with us the same as they have been for all the other events. So thank you very much.
CBC wouldn't miss it.
We wouldn't miss it. Ina, you're such a champion. Good luck. I'll see you here at the Ice Cube later today. And yes, good luck to the team throughout.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Go Canada.
Yeah, Paul, you know, when you think about wheelchair curling at the Paralympics, Ina Forrest has just been such a champion. And I know, you know, when I saw her here at practice, you said that look in the eyes. She had that look in the eyes yet again. So I am so excited. And, you know, she said it against China. What a way to start the Paralympics.
Yeah, it is. And we're really so happy to try to spread the word. Even when I was at the Lakeshore Curling Club, they're trying to grow this wheelchair sport more. And they are also excited about the opportunity to watch Team Canada and cheer them on. This is a proud moment for them. But more importantly, they're also hoping the spinoff is that more people will come and give curling a try, wheelchair curling, because for all the great things curling brings to your life, the social
Right.
connections, the camaraderie and all that. They hope, and COVID has taken a toll on curling clubs and especially growing wheelchair sport. So,
And I
we're
love
happy
that
to shine a light.
I love that you're bringing that up because, that curling show, we're all curling all the time, but throughout the Paralympics, we are going to have these conversations about inclusivity and accessibility in sport. So, we're gonna get into this, and actually, Call, that leads nicely into our next conversation with Rob Kohler. He's the Director General of Global Athletes, and I know he's been working closely. We've talked about it all week, a turbulent week here with the Ukrainian team, whether or not the Russian and Belarusian athletes were going to be competing here at the Paralympics. And he's been on the front line making sure the athlete's voice is heard. And now he's on that curling show joining us tonight. Rob, wonderful to see you. How do you begin to explain the week that it has been?
First of all, Devin and Colleen, thanks for having me on. It was a pretty tough week, to be quite frank with you. We had the Ukrainian athletes reach out to us on Friday, a week ago, with their concerns, what was happening, and the fact that Russia and Belarus were going to the Paralympic Games, and they thought that wasn't fair. So after spending some time with them, we've decided to do an open letter. And that open letter that started with, I think it was probably around 25 signatures from Belarusian athletes to the chair of the Russian Olympic Committee Athlete Commission, expanded to hundreds of Olympians and Paralympians calling for both the IOC and the IPC to suspend Belarus and Russia from these games due to the war and the conflict that Russia's raging on Ukraine. And that's really what we did. We elevated their voice, and we let them speak. And after a pretty tough 24 hours, the International Paralympic Committee had to take a U-turn and ban both Russia and Belarus from these games.
How big a surprise was it for you? I know it was the outcome you were hoping for, but to see that U-turn, how surprised were you?
Very surprised, to be quite honest. It's a little bittersweet, right? Because as an athlete organization, we advocate for athletes, and we want athletes to compete. And we had those discussions with the Ukrainian athletes. But the fact that if the Russian athletes would have been competing in Beijing, Vladimir Putin would have used every ounce of that, because Paralympic sport in Russia is huge. And he would have used every ounce of it to pretend everything was normal, to glorify these athletes and to glorify it within Russia. And that was, while you have Ukrainian athletes that we've spoken to that have to stop calls while they're in bunkers. One athlete sadly passed away in war by athlete. So it was the right decision. They're always tough decisions because you want, as I said, you want to see compete, but it was the right decision. And we were very pleased that the IPC took the principled decision.
And Rob, let's be very clear about this. And you and I were in close contact throughout all of this. This was brought on by the athletes. The responsibility was placed on the athletes. And I was here at the Ice Cube. The Latvian curling team was one of the first to publicly say, we will not take to the ice if the Russian Paralympic Committee plays. Maybe just talk about the role of the athlete voice in the sporting framework and how much louder and how much more emboldened it has been over this last bit, and the role it plays in enforcing decisions, really.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs that we have athletes having to constantly have to use forced change to make sport change. And, listen, the Paralympians are probably one of the most unique, amazing individual athletes and team sport athletes who really don't, they're there to play sport and they don't really take any BS because they're real and they're true. And I've spent time at the Paralympics, and it's a really unique event, much more so than the Olympics, because it's really about team and family and everyone's working together. And the fact that they grouped together to force this change was a sign that how out of touch the Olympic movement and Paralympic movements are with athletes. One would think if you're going to make a decision of this magnitude, you would have had a little consultation. And that's been the case over the past 2 years. And the pandemic, I think, has given the athletes an opportunity to pause, to look at the landscape and realize things aren't really that great. And it started off when the IOC needed 4 weeks to postpone the Olympic Games in Tokyo. And athletes were being told to lock down in their countries, and Thomas Bach was telling everyone to train as normal. Right. And the athletes stood up, and within 3 days, the IOC had to make a decision to postpone the games. When it comes to Rule 50 in the IOC charter and Rule 2.1 in the Paralympic charter, the athletes forced both those organizations to relax the rules to allow them to have freedom of expression, to talk about social or racial justice issues during press conferences. The IOC, the athletes forced the IOC to allow women to bring their babies, breastfeeding babies, to the Tokyo Olympics because they weren't going to. So constantly, athletes have been pushing and yelling and screaming. And I think that has to change because it's going to damage sport. And when we damage sport, who suffers the most? It's the athletes. And we need to move away from that forced change to have more of a partnership, a 50-50 partnership, to grow sport together. We all want to see it succeed. It's a wonderful thing, but it needs to be done in a safer, more inclusive environment that engages athletes as part of those decisions.
So is this a watershed moment? I mean, we saw during the Olympics, the situation with the 15-year-old Russian figure skater, and that caused so much controversy during the games and really took away from the women's figure skating event because if she had medaled, of course, there wasn't going to be a medal ceremony. It created a lot of debate over the whole Russian doping scandal from previous years. And so is this a watershed moment where athletes have finally, and para-athletes have finally found their voice, seeing that actual change happen?
I think it's building on to the continuous influence the athletes are having over the whole sport movement. And this is definitely a major contributing factor to reinforce how powerful they are and how they can be a part of the decisions. The reality is, Colleen, the biggest fear with athletes is the fear of retribution. And the only time you move yourself away from that fear of retribution when you act as a collective. And that's what we saw over the past week is Olympians, Paralympians, human rights experts, sport, the media, all addressing these issues, which were very clear to the international community, but not clear to the Paralympic Committee. And partly because the reality is the International Olympic Committee yields a lot of influence over the International Paralympic Committee. There's a lot of funding provided, and Russia yields a lot of power over sport. But the power of the collective, it may be a watershed moment. We may look at this and say, this is where this was the tipping point. Maybe not watershed, but maybe this is the tipping point.
Incredible. Rob, I know we're going to get to a birthday mention in a second, but before we get to that, maybe just how are you doing? Because you've been hearing from a lot of these athletes, and I imagine it takes an emotional toll. How are you and your team doing?
So Devin, it's you have to, every time that question's asked, it's a pause moment because we're in regular contact. We're speaking to them. We're hearing the real stories, what's happening on the ground in different parts of Ukraine, and it's hard. It's heavy, but it's also there's this feeling of contributing to something better and bigger for them, and I think that's what gave us so much strength, that we pushed forward and we stood up for them, and we weren't going to back down. And we're pleased we did that. This is just the start of the journey that we're going to be working with these athletes. So yeah, to say it wasn't heavy would be a fallacy. It has been heavy. It's been heavy, but I can tell you, speaking to over the past 12 hours, it was about 12 athletes from Ukraine who clearly said this has made a world of difference from them. And they have justice where they want to see more justice in the future. So yeah, it's been good.
Oh, you know what?
It brings the tears to my eye.
The whole world is feeling nothing but heavy over what's transpiring in Ukraine. But what about these athletes when this is over? I mean, for the para athletes that are there, where they can't go back home in a war zone.
Yeah, and this is the next step. And we've been talking to the athletes about what the next step is, and you know, how do we recover from this? How do they recover, and what we can do to help? You know, it was interesting. I don't know if it's public yet. Maybe it is, but we've been working with the Belarusian athletes over the past 2 years who have been asking for their own National Olympic Committee to be suspended because the president of the illegitimate president, Lukashenko, has been incarcerating, has been threatening family members, has been removing people from their jobs for those athletes that are standing up against his presidency. And today they approached us and they're trying to raise, I mean, this is how heavy this is, Colleen, is they're raising money to help buy ammunition for the Belarusian athletes that are actually inside fighting for Ukraine during this war. That's heavy.
Wow.
Well, this has been so interesting. And congratulations on the work that you've been doing behind the scene to help facilitate this, because it was, to me, one of the most powerful Olympic, Paralympic moments that's ever happened, because we never see change. So this was great.
Yeah, and I spoke to a few journalists, and I know I've been speaking with Devin, and we can't underestimate how important is the reporting and the reporters that take time to listen to the stories to elevate those voices, because it's pretty lonely when you're an athlete. When you have someone speaking on their behalf and elevating their voice, it makes a world of difference. So kudos to you, Devin, and Colleen. And I know, Devin, this is a year-long commitment to you. So on behalf of the athletes, I'm going to thank you.
Thank you for that, Rob. And while we're congratulating, why don't we end the conversation with a celebration? What a surprise, Rob. As we were messaging, you said there was a birthday to celebrate, and then you buried the lead a little bit, but there he is, your father-in-law, Mr. Dick Irvin, legendary CBC
Legend.
Yeah, it all came up in a conversation. We're sitting at dinner, and I said, I have to go on a show tonight. He said, who are you going to a show with? And I said, Devin Haru and Colleen Jones. He goes, oh, I know Colleen Jones. So we did this together. We did this, and he said, Devin. He said, he's a great reporter. So this, you know how he embellishes and likes to tell a story.
No, he doesn't.
But yeah, so yes, that's why I shared it with you, because he said very fond words about you guys as well.
Well, he looks amazing, and he is an absolute legend. And if Devin and I could just even come close to part of what he was able to accomplish, what was that famous line? We can't even carry his jockstrap. We're not even worthy. But anyhow, what a career! What a voice! Love it.
I will send his happy birthday greetings to you. He's in the other room right now. I don't know if I can pull him away, but
no worries.
Let me see if he's interested, if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you see? Because I mean, we would love to speak to the legend. I don't know if that's possible, Rob, or or how he's feeling. But of course,
if he's 2 glasses of wine in, maybe not. You know, he's
never had a drink in his life.
Wow.
Yeah, never.
That's the secret right there.
The secret, exactly.
Exactly. I will ask him quickly.
Did he ever do a curling show?
I don't know.
No, just hockey.
Good question.
Yeah.
I mean, he did hockey. He had, he goes in the city and people talk about his big band show sometimes more than they talk about his hockey. Because he ran a big band show on the radio here in Montreal, apparently, before my time.
Right.
But let me see if he's willing to say a quick hello.
Okay, we'll keep talking. Well, you do that. We'll be talking about the Briar for a second, just to segue into another thing. I know this is just for tonight, but it's pretty exciting, isn't it? Kind of exciting. I mean, to me, it doesn't get exciting until they whittle it down to the top 3 in each pool. Grattan, and you know who his new third is?
Darren Moulding.
Up against Matt Dunstone. Howard and Botcher.
Big game.
Cooey and Flash.
Oh, wow.
Ex-teammates.
Drama.
And then remember Mr. Young from when we were in Saskatoon, how great they looked.
No kidding.
Playing Thomas Scoffin from the Yukon. And there's, by the way, you might not have heard this. Let me give you some breaking news. Of course, you probably already tweeted it. Who am I kidding to think I can give you breaking news? But let's pretend I'm giving you breaking news. 4 players have stayed home because of positive COVID tests. We don't know the teams. Of course, you would know that already. You probably already know. Do you already know, Devin?
I'm not gonna show you my cards call, but we will find out when the teams take to the ice at the Briar.
Yeah, in Lethbridge. And of course, the big showdown that everybody's excited about is when does New Brunswick play Team Canada and Brendan Botcher. And of course,
guess what? I'm gonna jump in because the legend is here on his 90th birthday.
Yay! Oh my God, Dick Irvin! I love you. Here. Mwah!
Haven't seen your Colleen since the Danny Gallivan golf tournament in Halifax.
And I was a bad golfer. I know. I was saying Danny Gallivan's the other legend with Dick Irvin. I still haven't improved my golf game, by the way, just in case you were wondering about that.
Well, mine's getting worse too, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever been on a curling show, I think. I'm from Regina, and I grew up with the Richardson brothers. And I'm biased, but I still think it's the greatest curling rink we ever had in Canada. So yeah, I first time I curled, Colleen and Devin, I was at the Caledonia Curling Club in Regina. And it was billed as the world's largest curling rink. There were 23 sheets of ice at the time. I guess it's been surpassed by that. That was the first time I ever curled. And I ended up belonging to a club here in Montreal, the Thistle Curling Club, founded in 1904. And I enjoyed it. I really had a wonderful time curling. But then I started to work nights.
So you played the game with corn brooms.
Oh, yeah. Sure. And then I started to work nights, and I started to do things like an outfit called the Montreal Canadiens, and I couldn't even be on the spare list for the late draw, so I had to give it up.
Well, you know who else was a great curler and a great broadcaster is Bob Cole, another legend, by the way.
Yeah. No, he was a national caliber curler, definitely.
Well, happy birthday.
Well,
what are you thinking about for this year's Briar, by the way? Or are you paying any attention?
Well, not yet, not so far. Funny. I know I've lived in Montreal a long time, but I always look to see how Saskatchewan's doing.
Dick, you and I, of course, from the great province of Saskatchewan, and I don't disagree. The Richardson team, incredible. They really set the bar, didn't they, in the curling world?
Yeah, terrific. And I remember when they had, I think it was the silver broom they used to have, and they had it in Regina, and they had Ernie come out and throw the ceremonial first rock, and he drew it right to the button. It's amazing.
That Ernie Richardson, the classiest man alive. But can we get to your skincare techniques? Because you look amazing. What is the secret? Look at you. You're 90. You're amazing. I mean, I want to be like you. So I want secrets. Go ahead.
Well, I'll send you an email.
Is it that long a list?
Yeah.
Do you walk every day?
No, not anymore.
No.
Not anymore. No.
Okay. But such a good, tell me your top 5 broadcasting memories.
Well, it's funny that I'm known for hockey and so on, but I always tell people that the greatest broadcasting job experience I ever had was the 1976 Winter Olympics in Innsbruck, Austria. That to me I was there for CTV, and that was just, I'll never forget that, how those games were so wonderful, the way they were run. And then, traveling with the Montreal Canadiens for 33 years is not a bad way to make a living. And they won, I don't know how many cups, 8 or 9 cups during that time. The team that had 4 in a row with Scotty Bowman as coach is my pick as the best hockey team ever. And the fact that I was able to do Canadian events like the Canadian Open Golf Tournament, the LPGA golf tournaments that began here in Canada, all of those things are very, very strong. The national stuff is, I don't know. I mean, I did local news here for 30 years, but the national things were just quite something to be there and seeing what was going on as our men, especially men and women, represented Canada. That was always something very special to me.
Incredible. Dick, what a surprise this is.
We're so thrilled. You can't go back to your party because I've got to ask you this. What advice do you have for Devin and I? Because broadcasting's changed a lot, and yet it hasn't changed a lot. What was your core thing that you kept, strong for you when you showed up for work every day?
I just hoped that whatever it was I did entertained the viewers. That was they were first and foremost with me. Never mind how I felt. Never mind the athletes. The viewers, whether I was doing the Stanley Cup Finals in Game 7 or doing the late news on a Friday night in Montreal, the thing that was uppermost in my mind was the viewers, and that they're the important people, and you've got to entertain them, inform them. They're the ones that you're there for, not for yourself, not for the athletes. You're there if you're on television. You're talking about being on TV. You're there for the viewers to bring everything home to them.
Don Whitman, who I worked a lot with on curling, he used to tell the stories of when television was invented. And I used to have such a laugh about that because you're going, what? You had to do your own ads where you have to open a television. Okay. What's your first memory of being on television?
Doing a newscast at noontime on CTV Montreal, a stand-up newscast. My hands were fine. I had the script in my hand. They weren't shaking. My knees shook so badly, I thought I was going to fall over. I really did. My first 3-minute sportscast at noontime on a Wednesday afternoon in Montreal, I swore I was going to fall over. You don't think I wasn't frightened? It was awful.
Wow.
That's my first memory.
I love hearing stories. I love hearing stories about that. I love everything about your career. It's just been so amazing. You've been brilliant. You have entertained us. You're still entertaining us.
You still are, and we're going to let you go and enjoy your birthday, Dick. But your voice, I could just close my eyes.
Yeah, we knew.
We know, and your voice has been a soundtrack for so many incredible Canadian sporting moments, and to have you on your 90th birthday, this is really priceless. So thank you to you, and happy birthday, Dick.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, folks.
Invite me to another golf tournament. I'll come.
There you go.
Yeah. And you must be so proud of the work Rob, your son-in-law, is doing. So
my whole family's here tonight. My son, daughter, son-in-law, the 2 twins who are my grandsons. It's been a great evening, and this tops it off. It's great.
Happy 90th. 10 more years. We'll talk to you in 10 more years when you're 100. Okay? I love centenarians. I'm in love with them.
We have a date, Colleen. No problem.
Okay. I got a date.
Thank you, Dick. Wonderful to see you.
Nice to see you. The Danny Gallivan Danny, I know he's a legend. Danny Gallivan, a legend. Bob Cool, another legend. And that he also thinks Ernie Richardson's still the king. I like that too.
Who could have ever predicted how this was going to unfold? That's an incredible moment.
I've had a fun Friday night. I don't know about you, but
that's special. That is special. Listen, we touched on the Briar, of course, the focus here, the Paralympics, the wheelchair curling. First game goes at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time. Canada versus China, a rematch of the semifinal 4 years ago. And then you can join us at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. All games streamed live on CBC Gem. Matt Cullen and Sonja Gaudet will have the call. I'll be live tweeting from here in the Ice Cube call throughout.
You live tweeting. Well, that's a new concept.
Listen, I think we have one closing shot for behind the scenes. So I'm going to turn around and wave at our camera.
You're going to wave from there?
Look behind the scenes. Hello
I see you.
to everyone across Canada. And again, let's take a look at the venue here.
Wow.
As the scene is set, Paul.
Look at that ceiling. The ceiling's amazing.
Yeah, we're bringing you closer to the action than we ever have. Look at this. We've got a front row seat to the wheelchair curling here. Of course, it's all quiet in here right now. 4 hours away, 4 or 5 hours away from the teams taking to the ice for the first games of the wheelchair Paralympic.
Okay. It's just one of my favorite venues ever. It will be switched back over to a swimming pool later, but and Devin, so we're back on Sunday night in Canada, and you got to get the egg. Okay, I want you.
I didn't want to tell you, but I have found the eggs.
Okay, great. That's for Sunday. We can.
We'll wait. So we'll tease the viewers with that. I will try the egg. I will not drop the egg like you did.
It might
Although,
happen. They're slippery.
let me tell you,
Things.
I know you know this, but it's so clean in here. They do an immaculate job of cleaning. I understand why you picked it up. I
Did you just
snorted.
snort? Yeah,
I snorted. That's how much I almost started laughing again
I
because
know.
I'm imagining you dropping that egg.
That will live on in something. Hopefully on a blooper reel
I
for
wish
you
we
and I.
had that video ready because that is outstanding.
Yeah. Listen, this
okay,
has been
Paul.
a powerful show, and I'm glad that we just had a little bit of a laugh over the egg. And I'm so glad Dick Irvin brought us full circle about
Incredible.
a reminder that we do this show for the people out there. And
What great advice! Yeah,
it is great advice to remember that. It's
we
about
try and be entertaining sometime as well, don't we?
every now and then. Every now and then we hit the mark, and every now and then we don't, but we try.
Right. So we're back Sunday night. We're gonna space out the coverage through this, but of course I'll be here throughout. We're going to be back on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have an update on the team and bring you back inside the ice cube call.
Looking forward to it. So thank you for joining us, and thanks, producer Soph, and we'll see you all Sunday night. Devin, I miss you. You look good there.
I'm exhausted.
I'm here on my time now.